You probably had the experience sometime over the course of your life of hearing your own voice, and for most people, that's not a positive experience. It just sounds just horrible. But under certain circumstances, hearing your voice can actually be a good thing for you. You're probably not going to be able to duplicate them yourself, but we do want to describe this study for you to give you an insight into how your voice could possibly improve your life. So researchers from Sweden, France, and Japan asked about 100 people to read an excerpt, some text, doesn't really matter what, out loud. As they read, they listened to themselves reading the short story through a headset. So basically, it's a thing where it feeds their audio into a machine that, as you're going to see, is going to do something to it, and then it feeds it right back into their ears so that they can hear it as they continue to read. The trick was this. The scientists had created a program that would digitally alter people's voices in real time in order to make them sound happier, sadder, or more anxious than they truly were. The alterations were subtle, just a shift upward and inflection here and there to make a voice sound happier, for example. And most of the study volunteers didn't detect anything strange. But if they did, they were destroyed. And so they weren't included in the results. So both before listening to their voice being modified and after, the participants filled out surveys to measure their moods, focusing mostly on how happy, sad, anxious, or relaxed they were feeling. But after the story reading exercise, the unsuspecting volunteers reported a change in their emotion, one that corresponded to the version of their own voice they just heard. And so basically, if they heard themselves sounding happier than they actually sounded or actually were, then they would get happier or sadder or more relaxed, depending on how you modified their voice.
Yeah, so this is really interesting. We've seen like similar results from when you look at sort of small alterations to your facial features, right? So when they give you like a little like uptick in your smile or a downtick or give like make you look more anxious or something like that, you start to take on those emotions as well. So it makes sense that your voices or your voice would have a similar effect. And so it makes sense that would have a similar effect. And I wonder too if other people's voices, if you heard other people's voices be more happy or more sad or something like that, because when you think about like when we know about smiling and things like that, like if somebody else smiles, you become happier because maybe because it elicits the same response in you. So I wonder if it would be the same if it was other voices. But it is interesting to sort of alter your own voice and have that sort of play with your emotions.
Yeah, so these results kind of like, I guess, I don't know if scare me is the right word, but what it seems to be doing is that your opinion of your actual internal psychological or emotional state isn't dependent on just yourself. You can be tricked into thinking you're happier than you actually are.
But
that's the way I read it.
But if you okay, so that's
I think people are hearing it and they're like, "Oh wait, I guess I am happy."
Yeah, but that's
look at how happy I sound.
But like it depends how you define happiness and how you think about happiness, right? Because you're saying you're tricked into thinking you're more happier than you are. But if you start to feel more happy, isn't that as happy as you are?
Yeah, it's still as you will be, but not as you were.
So I feel like that's an awesome situation. So you can do little tricks. So if people are depressed or having a hard time or something like that, obviously not clinical depression, but are maybe going through something sad. If you can do little tricks instead of making all these big life changes that we try to do to bring ourselves happiness, that's actually pretty powerful.
Let's test it. So say a sentence.
I wish it were still the weekend.
I wish it was still the weekend. Do you feel better?
I do.
I feel better. Oh my God, this is way easier to set up too. It's really difficult to in real time manipulate someone's voice and feed it back into their ears, but just mocking the way they speak, that's easy. Say something else.
I'm gonna shoot you.
I don't even need to listen to it. That's how easy it is. I genuinely feel better. But anyway, so the thing that bothers me though, maybe I can word it differently, is that I think most people think that the way they feel is just the logical outcome of what's happened to them, what they've been thinking about, their experiences, and it produces an emotion. So the idea that like if you can just modify what you think about those things that happened to you, I don't know. I think that it's interesting. I don't think that that's the way most people think about their emotions.
But I think that's something really powerful, and I think that's something that's really important. It's something that like on my personal channel I actually talk about a lot is sort of you can't change you know, sometimes you can't change your situation, you can't change the people around you, but what you can change is the way that you approach certain situations. So that's kind of like what they're manipulating here.
Unfortunately, they also say that you can't do this to yourself. You need to be tricked into it.
But I wonder if, like, there's something as simple as rewatching a video or something like that where you were really happy, or looking at pictures of yourself really happy that can elicit the same response. Like, there's
That's
little
why
ways
I always record my sexual experiences.
There's little
you
ways
roll
to
your eyes, but wouldn't that work? Wouldn't that work?
I don't know. I assume it's a really sad event, so I don't know if it would work for you.
I cut it before the crying starts. I know how to edit video.
No, but so you can take what we've, you know, gleaned from this study and apply it in your own life in little other ways.
Okay,
like,
I will try to do that.
You know, using happy pictures or happy times
Looking
videos
at
or
pornography.
something like.
Yeah. Now the downside of this study, really fast, we have to acknowledge is that they didn't have a control group, which seems like, I'm sure it was funding constraints or something like that, because it's the easiest thing in the world to simply not modify the audio going through to their ears. You could have a few people like that. But unfortunately, we don't have that information. Perhaps in study number 2, which must be forthcoming. Anyway, let us know what you think about this. What do you think about the sound of your own voice? What emotional reactions does it elicit in you? Post those down below. We'll see you in the next video.